The wind does not howl, it grinds. It is a physical presence. A river of ice-toothed tear flowing down from the glaciers, scouring the marrow from bone. The clan moves through it as a single, hunched organism. A clot of brown hides in grim purpose against the suffocating white of the steppe. This is the hard reality of prehistoric life, a constant negotiation with annihilation. At the core of the shuffling group are the children, their faces pinched with cold, their small hands tucked into the warmth of their mother's furs. The old walk just behind them, their movements slow but deliberate, their eyes holding the memory of 100 such winters. Flanking them all the hunters, their broad shoulders turned against the gale, their hands gripping fire-hardened spears. They are not leading so much as shielding. Their bodies a living wall against the storm's fury. This is the unspoken architecture of survival for these early humans. They are driven by a map etched not in stone, but in generations of instinct. The scent of pine on the wind, the subtle shift in the land's contour, the promise of a deep, defensible cave, their ancestral shelter. It has been the clan's bastion against the long dark for a time no one can count, a constant in their brutal world. As they approach the familiar limestone cliff face, a flicker of relief passes through the group. The entrance is a dark slash against the snow, a promise of stillness and woe. But the air is wrong. The clean, cold scent of rock and damp earth is tainted, overlaid with a thick, greasy musk. It is the smell of a predator, heavy and territorial, in the fresh powder before the cable tracks, each one a deep basin wider than a man's chest. Claw marks gouge deep into the frozen ground. A low sound rumbles from the darkness within, a vibration felt more than heard, the sound of a mountain clearing its throat. The hunters freeze, their spears shifting from a carrying posture to a defensive one. Slowly, a shape detaches itself from the black. It is impossibly large, a creature of myth born from the ice itself, a colossal cave bear, one of the true giants of the Pleistocene megafauna, its massive head swinging low, its small eyes black and ancient. Steam erupts from its nostrils with each breath. It does not charge. It simply claims the space. Its sheer bulk a declaration of ownership. There is no challenge, no roar, only the calm, absolute power of a creature that knows no fear. The clan's collective hope dies in that moment. There is no heroic charge, no debate. Their hard-won knowledge, their entire hominid history, screams one word: retreat. They move backward as one, a silent, disciplined withdrawal into the teeth of the blizzard they sought to escape, their eyes fixed on the dark mole of their stolen home. They find refuge, if it can be called that, in a shallow overhang miles from the stolen cave. It offers little more than a break from the wind's direct assault. The cold is a predator in itself, leeching warmth, stiffening joints, silencing the whimpers of the youngest. Tonight they huddle there, a knot of shivering misery. The old one, the matriarch whose face is a map of 100 seasons of hardship, knows this is a slow death.
They
Her eyes,
on the grassy
deep
bank.
set in a web of wrinkles, meet those of Kale, the lead hunter. No words are needed. The unspoken language of survival, honed over 1,000,000 years of hominid history, flows between them. An idea is born not in language, but in a shared, desperate vision. It is a terrible gamble, an act of defiance against a force of nature they should, by all logic, flee. The clan mobilizes in the grey, pre-dawn light. There is no debate, only a quiet, brutal efficiency. The younger females undull the children, their fingers nimble despite the cold, work under the matriarch's direction. They gather every dry branch, every shred of birch bark they can find under the snow-dusted pines. Meanwhile, Kale and the other hunters prepare their weapons. This is where the intelligence of these ancient humans becomes a weapon more potent than muscle. Kale takes a flake of flint, its edge sharper than any fang, and works it carefully into the tip of a fire-hardened shaft. He binds it with sinew stripped from a reindeer tendon, then seals the joint with heated pine pitch. The process of hafting transforms a simple spear into a deadly tool, a marvel of primitive technology capable of piercing the thickest hide. It is the culmination of generations of knowledge, a direct link in the chain of human evolution. The plan is a sculpture carved from fear and foresight. They will not simply attack. They will build a trap of fire and pain. They will use the beast's own territorial rage against it. 3 hunters, including Kale, will be the lure. Their task is to draw the bear from the warmth of the cave into the cold. The rest of the clan, hidden along the narrow approach, will then create a channel of fire, a blazing gauntlet to confuse and contain the behemoth, driving it towards a prepared line of spears. It is a strategy of profound risk. The 3 who act as bait are offering their lives for the chance that the others might live. This is the core of their community, an altruism born of necessity. Kel glances at his mate, her belly swollen with their next child, and the briefest flicker of emotion crosses his stoic face before he turns away, his resolve hardening into stone. They move out, a silent procession of ghosts against the snow, carrying the embers of their fire and the cold weight of their purpose back toward the mountain. The approach is a crawl through frozen hell. Kale and the 2 others move low and fast, their bodies dark shapes against the vast whiteness. The wind is at their backs, carrying their scent directly into the cave's maw. It is a calculated insult, a direct challenge to the beast's dominion. They reach the threshold and Kale lifts a heavy stone, slamming it against the cliff face. The sharp crack echoes into the darkness. Once, twice, a 3rd time. The answering roar is a seismic event, a sound of pure geological fury that shakes the air. The bear explodes from the cave, a tidal wave of muscle and fur. It is not running, it is an avalanche. And the 3 hunters are the village in its path. They turn and flee, their legs pumping, hearts hammering. They do not run straight. They weave, using their spars, frozen pines as momentary shields. Their superior agility, the only thing keeping them from the sweep of those colossal claws. They reach the prearranged channel. At a sharp cry from Kale, the hidden clan members thrust their torches into the carefully laid piles of dry branches. Fire erupts with a hungry roar, 2 blazing walls of light and heat that funnel the path forward. The bear, blinded by the sudden glare and maddened by the stinging heat, bellows in rage and confusion. It does not stop. It lowers its massive head and charges straight through the river of fire, its thick fur smoking and sizzling. It is a vision from a nightmare. A demon raised in flame. At the end of the gauntlet, the remaining hunters wait. A thin line of half-dead spears breezed against the frozen earth. This is the moment where instinct, honed over a lifetime of survival skills, meets brute force. The beast crashes into them, with splinters, bone snaps. 1 hunter is thrown aside like a doll, his body broken, but the spears, products of their sophisticated intelligence, do their work. The sharp flint points bite deep, tearing through hide and muscle. The beast roars, a sound of agony now mixed with its rage, and Kale, seeing his chance, dives his own spear into its exposed flank. The creature, grievously wounded and panicked, finally breaks. It turns from the fight, crashing blindly through the fire line and disappearing into the swirling snow of the blizzard. Its pained bellows fading into the wind. Silence descends, thick and heavy, broken only by the crackle of the dying fires and the ragged gasps of the survivors. They have won. The cave is theirs, but the cost is etched onto the snow. Kale lies motionless, his chest crushed by a final, desperate wipe. The other hunter who baited the beast is also gone, a red stain marking his final stand. They have reclaimed their home, but lost the very pillars of their future. Days later, inside the hallowed warmth of the cave, the matriarch takes a lump of red ochre and grinds it into a fine powder. She does not weep. She carefully, deliberately, marks the foreheads of the children with the red dust, an act of remembrance, a silent promise that the sacrifice will not be forgotten. The victory is an echo in an empty home. This was not a victory for glory. It was a transaction. paid in the clan's best blood for the simple currency of tomorrow. The evidence uncovered by archaeology shows us tools and bones, but it is the context, the story understood through the lens of anthropology, that reveals the truth. The ghost of that choice, the brutal calculus of sacrificing the strong to save the whole, lingers in our own DNA. This is the foundation upon which our species is built, not on triumphant hunts, but on the quiet, devastating moments of collective survival in the unforgiving world of prehistory. These acts of foresight, cooperation, and profound loss are the bedrock of our shared past, the inheritance of all who came after. Their struggle reminds us that the bonds of community are not forged in comfort, but in the shared desperation of a blizzard's teeth, and that the first and most human art was not painting on a wall, but learning how to grieve together in the dark. How much of that brutal, necessary calculus have we truly left behind? We are the chroniclers of what was. We sift the dust and listen to the silence. The fire is not out. It only sleeps within the stone.